so we have 15 minutes of stuff where we will talk about the present topic which we have. So Sri Lekha is with us now. Sri Lekha, hi, very good afternoon.
Yeah, hi Saravanan sir, good afternoon.
And brilliant, great. So I believe you are at office. I can
Yes.
sound, yeah, right. It's like kind of echo in that particular room. And so I believe Shakti and Manju, they are with us as well.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic, great. So little bit of people in crowd, no, it's always good. Okay, so now we will begin. So I keep saying the nature of this particular program is pretty short, crisp, just 15 minutes. So we'll stick with our guidelines in terms of time, and so we will proceed. So what we are currently discussing is like we are discussing pronouns. So if you remember, we discussed 5 of the types of pronouns in the last class, right? So we did this. So here it is. Okay. So we did the 5 types of pronouns in the last class. So this is what it is. So this particular stuff we completed. So and then we will do this one, right? So this is what it is. So so to start with, again, as I said, no, this is something which is we are taking a deep dive, and specifically if you're taking an English exam or maybe an elective exam or maybe something into the higher end, then you might need this, right? They will give you a sentence and they will say which is a reflexive noun or which is a intensive pronoun and stuff like that, right? But it's a good to know information since we are taking a deep dive, and so it's always good and revisit the grammar which we studied in school. Okay, so let's start with Shakti. Shakti, personal pronouns we completed, isn't it? And
Yes, sir.
you can see the example and also see personal pronouns are what used to replace nouns for the people or things. So what are the examples? You can read as well. What are the examples of personal pronouns?
I, you, he, she, it, we, they.
Fantastic. She, it, we, they. Right. So these are all the examples of personal pronouns, and so this can be used in the place of the what do you call the noun, right? So that is what it is. Okay. So same Shakti, possessive pronouns. So what are the possessive pronouns? Which indicates ownership without the need of for a noun. So you don't need to use the noun. So it indicates the ownership. So possessive in the sense itself, like I possess this thing, that thing, and stuff like that. So what are the examples? You can read it from here, Shakti.
Mine, yours, his, hers, it's, ours, theirs.
Fantastic. Okay, so these are the stuffs, and so mine is a possessive one, yours is a possessive one, his, hers, its, ours, theirs, and all. Okay, so I'll ask one more time, Shakti. Reflexive. See, there is. I will explain in length. Hopefully, we get time this class or maybe in the next class. There is a correlation between reflexive and intensive pronouns. So I'll explain that because if you see, that all the stuff which is here is coming here as well. But there's a key difference to these two things, which I'll explain. And so let's understand now. So reflexive, used when subject and object are same. For example, Shakti himself read these sentences. So Shakti is a noun, and himself here is a pronoun. So which is like, this is what it's called, reflexive pronouns. When the subject, who's the subject? Shakti, and the object, what is he doing? Reading, right? He did it himself. So which when it is same, that is called a reflexive pronoun. So what are the examples, Shakti? You can read it.
Myself, yourself, himself, ourselves, itself, ourself, yourself.
Okay, ourselves and yourselves.
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay, so fabulous. So this is what it is. See, there is something known as himself and herself, and then yourself and ourselves. So anyone want to? What is the difference between these two? Is there any difference? Shakti, Manju, Sri Lekha.
Ourself and yourself, sir.
Yeah, himself is the, so himself, ourself, or herself, yourself. See, simple. One is a singular one, another person, a plural one. Right? Himself meaning singular, and herself meaning or yourself and ourself, selves, selves. So it is indicating that it is more than one. Okay, so let's go to Manju for last two. So Manju, demonstrative pronouns, which we did last time. So what is demonstrative? Point to specific thing or people. Demonstrative. It's like they say, demonstrate this product and stuff like that. So what are the examples if you want to read it?
This, that, these, those.
Fantastic. So this particular book, that particular place, these particular people or those and stuff like that. So these are demonstrative pronouns. As I said, I have some write-up as well, which I'll share. It will be more descriptive, so we will be able to understand it even much more better. Okay, so the last one which we did in the previous class is interrogative pronouns. Right? I explained this as well when you interrogate someone, right? When you ask questions. So what are the questions? All these questions is like, these are the questions which Manju will read. What are they, Manju?
Who, whom, whose, what, which.
Absolutely. So anything which starts with this is like a question. Who was that person? Whom you're talking with, right? Whose book you have now, right? What are you talking about? Which particular place? So all this is like a question to ask and seek more information, which is called interrogative pronouns. Okay, fantastic, Manju and Shakti. So let's move on for the additional 5 today. And as I said in the previous class, in the class before as well, if you see, there are some who will say that there are 7 type of pronouns, and there are some who will say 8 and 10 and 12, and the list goes on. So I've kept this 10, and I think it's good enough for us to know. Okay, so indefinite. So indefinite itself says like there is no timeline, right? So there is no end time. Like infinity we use in math, right? So in terms like, so we don't have any limit on that. So here it is. So anything which doesn't have a kind of a quote in terms of timeline is called infinite pronouns. Okay, refer to non-specific people or things. So some of the examples are anyone, someone, everyone, nobody, everything, anything. Right? So these are all indefinite in the sense like where I saw someone. So who's this someone? I don't know. Right? So I probably will never know who was that someone. Right? So everyone does it. So who's this everyone? Right? Everyone does it. Everyone sometime or other they break the rule on road. Right? So who are the everyone? You will never know. Right? This someone, who's this someone? You will never know. So these are all indefinite where you will not know. Okay, so that is what it is, indefinite. So relative pronouns, very clear. Relative is like where there is kind of an introduce relative clauses, right? Who, whom, whose, which, that, whose book is this, right? So those kind of things. As I said, I have some examples which with which it will be more clear. Okay, reciprocal. Right, reciprocal is a sense like you greet, as I said the other day, you greet someone and somebody greets you back. It's like reciprocal, right? So a good gesture is meted with a good gesture, right? Or maybe opposite as well. If somebody grins or maybe prawns and then you do the, probably somebody does that as well. So reciprocal. So here it is, indicate mutual action or relationship. Each other, right? One another. They support one another very well, right? So those kind of a thing, which is reciprocal. Intensive pronouns. So what is intensive, right? So as I said, I'll explain these two stuffs. So if you see, both the stuffs are same, the examples are same. I'll explain. There's a finer difference between these two, and I'll explain that. Okay, distributive. So distributive is like refer to members of a group separately. So for example, I'm at a shop. I'll buy each one of these. So you are distributive. You are indicating what you want and how much you want, or the numbers as well, right? Distributor. I want each one of them. I need either of them or neither of them, right? So that way as well. So this is what it is. So as I said, good to know information, right? So it is a deep dive, right? So let's move ahead. Okay. So this is what I was explaining. I have something in detailed as well. We will look all the 10 pronouns which we completed, and so let's have a look. Relative. So the first one is relative, right? Used to relate one part of the sentence to another. One part of the sentence to another. Very, very simple. So where you are relating one part of the sentence to other, right? The examples are the same which we saw on the previous sheet. So possessive are used to show the position as well. So this is what it is. All the examples: mine, yours, his, hers, theirs, and its. So reflexive. Here comes reflexive. So this is what I was talking about. So what are reflexive pronouns? Used to refer back to the subject in the same sentence. So what are the examples? Myself, yourself, herself, himself, oneself, ourself, themselves, and yourself. Okay. So now let's look at the same time the other one, which is intensive pronoun. I said that there is a correlation. See, so here as well, self and self is used in the combination with a noun or a pronoun to replace specific, emphasize on that. For example, right? So intensive is like, I did it myself, right? So if you say I did myself, that is also good. But when you say I did it myself, there is an emphasis. It's emphasis on yourself. I believe in myself. I myself wrote the code. So you can very well say I wrote the code, but I myself. So there is an emphasis on the intensity or intensive pronoun. So that is what it is. Sheila approved the purchase herself. So it can be said Sheila approved the purchase as well, right? But Sheila approved the purchase herself, right? Mike himself built that house. It can be said that Mike built that house, right? So Mike himself built that house. For example, if I say Mike himself built that house, instead of that Mike built that house, then it will become what? It will become an reflexive pronoun. Reflexive pronoun, right? So the point between reflexive and so here it is explained. See, both are same. Intensive and reflexive are the same reflexive pronouns. The only difference being that one can remove intensive pronoun from the sentence and the sentence would still make sense. For example, I myself wrote the code, right? If I say I wrote the code, I remove the myself, the sentence is still making a sense. That is precisely what's the difference between intensive and reflexive pronoun. Say, for example, if I remove this myself and I wrote the code, and if you wrote, if I remove any one part of this, if you hide this myself, wrote the code, it's not making any sense. Code, if I wrote what code if you have removed. So this is reflexive. If you remove any word or any part from a reflexive sentence, the sentence will not make any meaning. But from intensive, since the intensive is emphasized on himself or herself or anybody, the subject, so where there is an overemphasis on what that person has done, right? I did it myself, right? When we can say, when they say cook, they say I did it myself, right? Sometimes women may be doing it every day, right? But they will not do that emphasis. I did it, right? Sometimes it can happen, right? I did it myself. So if you say I right? For example, you take this example. I myself wrote the code. So I wrote the code, right? I wrote the code. So if you take this as well, that is still good enough for an reflexive. And but from reflexive one, if you take any part of it, any word, then it may not make any sense. I think it's 2:15. So what we will do now is like rather than skipping or rushing through the other ones, so we'll stop at that. I have made a note. We have done reflective pronouns and possessive pronouns, and then and reflexive, and as well as intensive. So other ones we will discuss in the next class, which is tomorrow, and I'll have some more examples to explain, and then we would have done with pronouns, and then we will go ahead. Okay, so let's go to so this brings to an end. So Srilekha, all confusing, nothing clear.
No, not confusing. I'm just listening. Not clear only.
Bit difficult, no? To
Yeah. Maybe for understanding felt. Maybe like when we use with the sentence, it might be easy. I believe so.
Yeah, absolutely. See, Srilekha, that is the beauty I was saying. When we write or read or do, we don't know whether it's reflexive, whether it is intensive, personal, and all. And but for example, if you are taking an IELTS test, or maybe if you are doing a test of English, or maybe you are writing NEET and other thing, so they would probably ask you which part of this is intensive, this part is reflexive. That is where it is needed. Other than that, it's not needed. But since it is grammar, it is something which we have to cover. Great. So Manju, was it clear? Anything?
Yes, sir.
So I can ask you in the next class what is reflexive, what is
Yes,
intensive.
sure.
Sure.
Yes.
That's the confidence. Fantastic. Shakti?
Yes, sir, it's clear.
Very clear. Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Hey, great, yeah. DC Live team, fabulous. So good that we are meeting up every day at this time and then doing this stuff. Thank you very much. So we will stick with our time. We have exceeded a couple of minutes. So we'll come back and do one more session on this, and we would have done pronouns, and we will move on to another thing. I thought I can do some singular and plurals as well, which is not a grammar per se as to say, but this is where a lot of users make the errors. So we would do that, and then we'll move on to another thing. Srilekha, I saw you unmute. You want to say something?
No. I think so, sir. Yeah.
Okay. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, sir.
So we'll catch up again tomorrow. Take care. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.
Yes, sir, bye.
Bye-bye.